Welcome, everybody. It's Friday, and this is Voices from the Edge. We have a full table today. We have August, Maureen, Katie, Roseanne, Keisha, Anitra, and Andrea. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Who's in the chat? If you're in the chat, let us know. We want to hear from you. We want to talk to you. So, hey, guys, hell of a week.
Yes.
Hell of a week.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. So we have a variety of topics we want to talk about today, but as we do that, I'd like us to keep in mind, are we getting numb? Or are people getting numb? Kind of keep this question in mind as we go through our topics today, because they're starting to feel that way. And we know this is what they want. And we continue to have to resist. Everything we saw this week was horrifying. It keeps getting more horrifying, but we keep fighting back and we keep pushing through, right? So we want to kick off today. Maureen is going to take the first segment and talk to us about what's going on in San Francisco. Yes. With ICE. Would you like to say a few words before we share your video?
Yeah, why don't I do that? I was doing a little research. I'm actually don't live right in San Francisco. I'm 20 miles south of it, but I know San Francisco very well, and I'm very concerned that he's trying to come into our city because we don't need it. But I learned a lot about the mayor there that was of concern to me. Dan Lurie, he is heir to the Levi Strauss. He is a Democrat, moderate, but Trump actually called him. And how did that happen? And had a nice conversation with him. Well, Mark Benioff, I think you probably have all heard of him, is the CEO of Salesforce, and he is a friend of Trump. He's the one who called Trump along with some high-techy guys. And what bothers me about this is Dan Lurie, I think, is smart, but I also think he's being, he's got a little cushy there. And they're not going to come in because he asked him not to. And I thought, well, that's interesting. How come it went that way for him? Because it's not happening that way across the Bay in Alameda and Oakland. Alameda has an Arab descent female as their mayor. Oakland has a Black woman as their mayor. I don't know that, but it seems rather strange, doesn't it? And they weren't allowed that. They went right into Alameda and they went into Oakland. And I know we're going to have a video that's going to show that. So only bring that to everybody's attention. We can talk about that after we see the video, but that really concerned me. I'm glad they're not coming into San Francisco, but that makes me not really respect Dan Lurie, and I wish high tech would just stay out of it, but they're not. They're running the show, folks. They're running the show.
Silicon Valley.
I've been in Silicon Valley for a long time. As a hard environment for people who work in it. I know that. My husband went from one high-tech company to another. They got some strange guys heading up those companies. I know that for a fact. And I know some of those dudes. Anyway, why don't we show the video?
All righty. Let's get this one going.
Border Patrol in the Bay Area. Federal agents deploying to San Francisco this morning, meeting with protesters. A long rumored immigration crackdown happening in the area, and it looks like it has begun. Those demonstrators meeting agents right there face to face as they arrived at Coast Guard Island in Alameda this morning. At least 2 protesters apparently injured in the process. We want to get right to our Zach Fuentes with our KGO station there in San Francisco. So, Zach, tell us exactly what's going on behind you, how things unfolded today. Does it seem like it's calmed down?
It's definitely more calm out here. Protesters have been walking around in this circle since about 6:30 this morning, but it was when those Customs Patrol vehicles came through here to the entrance, which is in Oakland, California, by the way, the entrance to Coast Guard Island, that things got tense and led to that video that you guys just played, seeing the flashbangs and people surrounding those vehicles. Since then, though, things have been mostly calm here. Absolutely no traffic, though, coming through here, because there are a lot of people that use this road that they're on as a thoroughfare, and the regular people who come to this Coast Guard base to do their job as well. Customs and Border Patrol were coming here to be stationed here, and U.S. Coast Guard security forces have been the ones really fending off the protesters, keeping them from getting any closer than they are. Again, those protesters staying in the intersection, in the crosswalks, continuing to move. Only at one point when those vehicles were coming through did they stop. So they have been walking around here and really just holding up traffic, but so far things are calm and we have not seen any more tense moments than we saw earlier this morning, Kira.
All right, so Zach, can you kind of give us the details on what the mission is here? What Customs and Border Patrol are going to do exactly, how long they're going to be there? Do we even have a clear understanding at this point?
We do not have that, Kira, at this point. Their exact mission is still unclear to us. And one thing to point out is that Customs and Border Patrol, it's not the same as ICE, but they do have the power to do immigration arrests. And that is what has had our state and local lawmakers concerned. And it's what we've been hearing from the people out here as well, that that's what they have concerns with, the immigrant community here in the Bay Area, which is very large. And we talk the Bay Area, it's not just San Francisco, it's Oakland where we're standing right now, San Jose, and the many surrounding cities as well. So that exact mission we don't know about yet. The Department of Homeland Security gave us a statement yesterday, and it just said that DHS is targeting the worst of the worst criminal illegal aliens, including murderers, rapists, gang members, pedophiles, and terrorists in cities such as Portland, Chicago, Memphis, and San Francisco, as it does every day. So that's the extent of what we know about that mission, Kira.
Got it. All right, Zach, thank you so much. And as we're asking these questions, the president clearly paying attention to what's happening there behind you. And just now putting out on Truth Social, the president saying the federal government was preparing to surge San Francisco, California on Saturday, but friends of mine who live in the area called last night to ask me not to go forward with the surge and that the mayor was making substantial progress. I did speak to the mayor last night. He asked very nicely that I give him a chance to see if he can turn it around. I told him I think he is making a mistake because we can do it much faster and remove the criminals that the law does not permit him to remove. I told him it's an easier process if we do it faster, stronger, and safer, but let's see how you do. All right, we'll continue to follow this as word coming in from the president right there. We'll keep in touch with our Zach Fuentes out of KGO in San Francisco. Zach, thank you.
Huh. Wow. Does that make you?
Interesting.
Oh, isn't that interesting? The friends were the people I just told you about, high-tech billionaires that got in touch with Trump. That's the only reason they stayed out of San Francisco.
And all the criminals are in Washington.
And you know what? Crime has come down in San Francisco and Alameda and Oakland. It's all a bunch. It's all a bunch of bullshit.
Well, in Alameda, they shot one of the ministers in the face with a smoke bomb, and they had to take him to the hospital. I haven't heard how he's doing since, but I don't like this, how he pick and chooses. Now, if they're going to go after cities, they should go after all cities. None have come into Texas.
Yeah.
Well, and they won't. They won't, Andrea, because, Hot Wheels bent the knee, gave him what he wanted.
But even if they do go into the cities, they don't go into like the worst parts of the cities.
They scared.
They go in. They go into the more populated areas. Because I have friends. I used to live near DC, and they said they are nowhere near those bad neighborhoods. They're in like main areas. It's bullshit. Because
That's
it's a show. It's all for power. They want to scare people. That's why they want to make sure they get as much attention as possible.
right.
And
the
he's
whole
letting
we're
us know
going
he's not governing for all of us. He's only governing for the MAGA crew. Anybody else, if you get lucky, okay. But other than that, rich and MAGA only.
Right, which is the lie that they're going after the worst of the worst. It's a lie. So the worst of the worst is coming down on an apartment complex and zip tying children. That's the worst of the worst. I mean, yeah, it's performative. Absolutely. Yeah, that flash bomb thing was like, oh shit. I mean, people, yeah.
And they didn't even care. They shot him in the face. They didn't care.
No.
I saw in Portland they just detained I think a blind man with a cane that was sitting outside of an ICE facility. I don't remember the video, but like a bunch of them were leaving the facility and they just came up on this poor man.
Wow.
No reason.
I heard something about that, but vaguely. I can't vaguely remember what all the details were.
Yep, same old thing. But I agree with you, Maureen, you know, that it's not fishy. It's his MO, right? He doesn't do this to the people that he considers friends or the people that bend the knee. That's it. He goes into the cities of people that voted against him, who are against him. And we're going to see a lot more of that, unfortunately. Anybody else on this topic? Maureen, did you have other comments on this one?
No, I just thought it was I went later on after I sent the video to you because I didn't really know that much about Dan Laurie, so I'm not real impressed with Dan Laurie now that I saw all of that. And it makes me so mad because I was born and raised in this area, and these techie people, they're just getting so bad of taking advantage of everyone and kissing up to Trump. And it's transparent. Don't you guys think it's transparent, really, what was going on there?
Well, I think that when they were arguing on Don Lemon yesterday, that that the president was prejudiced, with black and white. And I said, no, he just loves green. If you got some green, that's all you got to have for him.
The man has an addiction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
An addiction. Okay. So that's on the ICE note. Let's move to Anitra. So you can introduce it. I have yours queued up, and then if you could just tell me when to stop, because it's kind of hard to see the time codes.
Okay.
All right. If you want to introduce yours? Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to be talking about, well, basically everybody knows, here we go again with the SNAP benefits. We're in a crisis. The government shut down. They're talking about there's not going to be enough for the people to get their food stamps next month. It's Thanksgiving month. It's getting cold. And we have $6 billion set to the side. It costs $8.5 billion for 42 million Americans to have food stamps every month. And that is a B. I triple checked it. It's insane. But we don't have enough, but yet they tell us we need to have 3 to 6 months of reserve left. So is the plan, if anything goes wrong, not to take care of these people because it's abrupt? It's going to cause a raise in theft, and all kind of rage, crime of other sorts. It's just going to be so crazy, and people are already telling them we coming to steal, and it's going to affect 42 million of the 340 some million that we have here. So anyway, this is a man. His name is, I had to write it down. His name is Walter Knott, and he is a disability attorney, and he's with the law firm of Disability Resolution, the law firm. So you can play.
You ready? All right.
Yes.
I think I have it queued up in the right spot here.
Exceptions. Big change. The program has to do with the ABAWDs, or able-bodied adults without dependents. Put simply, able-bodied adults need to prove They're working at least 80 hours a month pursuing an education or in a training program to keep qualifying for SNAP without proof. They can only receive benefits for a maximum of 3 months. Before the One Big Beautiful Bill, there were several key exceptions to this work requirement. Before, if it only applied to adults 18 to 54, now any able adults under 65 have to prove they are working to continue receiving benefits. Now, remember, in most states that were blue, there were a lot more exceptions allowed and applied. The red states, like, you look at Florida. Florida's had, you got to work to get food stamps for a while, like years and years and years. Like, this. So when this came out as a change, a lot of people were like, whoa, what do you mean? How could this be? And I'm sitting here in Florida like, what do you mean? That's been the rule here for many, many years. I was just surprised, But again, you got to understand, when you're in Florida, capitalism is the model. When you go to California, when you go to Oregon, when you go to Washington, when you go to Maine, and when you go to Connecticut, the model is more socialism, welfare programs, stuff like that. Unless you're in the city of insurance of Massachusetts and Connecticut, then but at the same time, New York, New Jersey, stuff like that, California, Washington especially, the idea is more socialism than essentially capitalism. Like Texas, Florida, capitalism. That's their push, right? In Florida, all right. Can I tell you a secret that people don't really know about? There are places where there's a lot of work to be done where plants grow significantly, like Florida. It's just a tropical environment. Everything grows here. The grass has to be cut more. The trees have to be trimmed more. You got to do more landscaping. So when it comes to work and opportunities and jobs, and there's a ton of people from California and New York moving to Florida. So there's a massive influx of people who are looking for jobs, working, etc. There's a lot of jobs in Florida where you could get a job mowing. You could get a job weed whacking. You could get a job hedge trimming. You could get a job tree trimming. You could do these things. You know what I mean? There's jobs for people who don't have other skills. I guess that's what I'm saying. Now you go to the deserty areas, right? Super deserty, super mountain areas, where they don't, spend a ton of money on water to go ahead and make a tiny square of grass. There's not a lot of those jobs. So one of the big problems that Trump is going to face with this is, okay, you have a bunch of people on welfare that shouldn't be on welfare. They are able-bodied. They are capable. They're already done with whatever education they're going to get. What do you do with them?
And
if the jobs aren't there, if that doesn't require much.
So that's the thing. They have to make it ability to do it. If somebody can work, the jobs have got to be there. And then with the onset of AI taking the lower jobs and Amazon's cutting 600,000 jobs, all these places, these people are not going to be able to fulfill it. Not because even if they can do certain jobs, they're not going to be available. And he's not considering all that. And here, but of course he's not, because he's not surrounded with the best and the brightest or people that care. But it's really going to have an impact, and it's going to cause a lot of people to starve, a lot of families to be harmed, children be neglected. The lady here at the place where I'm staying, that runs the place where I'm staying, she said that if her children would not have had food stamps when she was coming up, when she was raising them, they would have starved. And she worked, and she said she always worked and sometimes took a job on the side during, when her kids got older and went to school. And it just, it's all about what your skill set is. And most of the people getting that either are disabled or their skill set is minimal. And it's not saying nothing against them. It's just, what it is. So that guy, he's kind of on both sides and everything, but he understands it from the inside out. So that's why I like to listen to him a little bit. Thank you.
Well, plus it's also for people who are working and don't get paid a fair wage.
Right.
There are a lot of times where people are working 40 hours a week and are still on food stamps, still on SNAP,
Which,
or still on some kind of aid.
And hopefully they'll still be able to get on there, but and then this double getting it every, I think it's twice a year now. It's just going to be a big burden on people, and it's meant to. And the guy kind of having Mr. Knott kind of has an epiphany during while he's talking later on. And he's like, so if they get rid of this and they open the government back up and let that go on, He was like, this is going to cause an avalanche of things to fail. And then they can't get their disability and they can't get their Medicaid, which means they can't get their food stamps and so on and so forth. And he's like, I'm going to have to pen a letter to him because he can't do this. This is not a tenable situation. And I'm like, that, he said, that would murder people. I said, murder is the motive. I do believe murder is the motive.
So on Tuesdays, here's the thing. I did an episode about money and student debt. And one of the things that I learned in my research is that because people have stereotypes about people who receive SNAP benefits, but one out of every 5 recipients of food stamps, aka SNAP, has a post-secondary degree. 1 out of every 5 has beyond a bachelor's degree. Twice as many SNAP recipients have associate's degrees versus bachelor's degrees. About 3 million college graduates receive SNAP benefits, and roughly 63% of women with bachelor's degrees receive SNAP benefits. So we're talking about people who basically did the right thing, went to school, got educated, tried to do something to get ahead in life, and still either do not have the opportunities or the resources to make enough money to provide for their families to have food. It's a serious issue. And the other thing I learned is back in the spring, and I don't know how I missed this, the Trump administration cut $500 million in deliveries from the Emergency Food Assistance Program, which is a quarter of what they had last year. So food banks that were relying on these funds don't have this money. And so in addition to what is going to happen at the beginning of November, they're already behind. They already have fewer resources than they did before.
Right.
It's disgusting. Right. It's really disgusting. And that's, but if you read in Project 2025, that's what they want. They want you to be sick. You're going to have physical sickness, and then you can't go to the hospital because you can't afford it. It's impacted my family. I have a niece whose mother is furloughed, works for Social Security. She is educated, very well educated, but she can't work right now. So she's got to find other ways. I have an aunt that told me she's going to have to give up her medicine, and she's going to see all her doctors right now because she's going to not be able to afford the medicine that was helping her get better. It was either $1,000 or 400 was the cheapest they could get it. She can't afford that. And the other thing is she's going to have to probably give up her insurance because she's not going to be able to afford the premium. Even if they fix it, it's still going to be up too significantly.
So I'm sorry, Keisha, go.
I just want to provide some more context to the $500 million in cuts and what that actually looks like. So this cancellation of 4,304 deliveries between May and September totaled 94 million pounds of food that never reached food banks across the US, Puerto Rico, and DC. And it affected over 27 million pounds of chicken, over 2 million gallons of milk, and over 67 million eggs.
Yes.
It's food. It's real food. Like these are people's lives that are actually being affected. Like these are real numbers. And this is from ProPublica, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. This next month is going to it's going to be harsh.
The thing that scares me is what people are going to do when they get desperate.
Yeah.
And just
at least I told you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And do the people in DC also just not realize that a lot of the folks that receive these benefits are their constituents?
Who you gonna get the money from if we can't make money for you to exploit? Then what are you gonna do? That's what I don't understand. What the end game is? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, the end game, and he said it before, was he need people to go out in the fields and work. And now that he's tried to, make all the immigrants go back to their home country, he need people to work the fields. And he said, and if you get that hungry, you will work. And that's exactly what he said. And we've been talking about this for months now.
Well, and tying into that's all tied together. JD Vance is heavily invested in a company that's buying up farmland from farmers who are going to go bankrupt.
That's what they're doing.
So there's huge connections and all that. And when the government owns our food source, or when a company or two own our food source, that's a problem.
And if you read Revelations, and they tell you about the mark of the beast, and that to get food, you have to have the mark.
Trump across your forehead.
Probably have it in a big lodge. It'll be big league. It's gonna be all on you. It's gonna be an orange.
The
The
mark,
orange ball.
the mark is the MAGA hats.
I ain't gonna be able to eat.
hat.
Yeah. I penned a letter last Thursday, the 16th, to one of my representatives, Kevin Kiley, who doesn't do much, just to implore him to work with both sides to try to open up the government. But one of the statistics that I shared with him is that here in Placer County, 6.4% live below the poverty line, of which 5% are under 18 and 7% are seniors, 65 and over. And of that, another 7.2% are veterans. You know, we've got 643 that were in World War II, 1,738 that are Korea, 8,672 Vietnam, 5,325 Gulf War in the 90s, and another 5,700 plus that were Gulf War in 01. I mean, these are real people, kids, seniors, people who, men and women who went to war. It's like, come on, people, don't let this happen. So
Help to build this country and make it even as crazy. They did their part best they could.
yeah.
Well, I know my nephews who live in Auburn need to carry 2 jobs. You know, you're not going to make it with your family unless you're working 2 or 3 jobs in that county. But my family can't stand. What's his name? Kylie. He's a
Kevin Kiley. Yes. Oh, he's horrible.
Yeah, he is.
He will not face his constituents. He will only do the town hall over the phone. You have to register. Only so many people can get onto the phone. And if you drop off, God forbid, you'll never get back on. He won't. I attended only one, and I was shocked at how he did not answer anyone's questions. He just, divert. I'm going to talk about this. I don't want to answer.
I know here with like the telephone town halls, if you try to register, they'll look up your voting info if they can, and like try to figure out if you're a Democrat or Republican, and they just won't even let you on. They like pre-approve the questions, and so yeah, I get it with the whole useless reps. I feel that hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, the GOP are refusing to work with the Democrats. So I'm sitting here wondering who represents me in the government. I'm an independent now, but still, I mean, who represents us in the government? Because they're not working with the other side at all.
And refusing, I mean, not a budge when they do this. And we can't trust you. He act like he's trustworthy. We can't trust you with this because we already know you don't care. So somebody's got to help us get some food and get some action. I know everybody's trying.
I know what they're doing around here, and I've seen it a bunch, is people sharing like food banks and what people really need at food banks and like what food is best, and even like, because it's getting colder, like blankets and clothing and just all the best things that we can do to help each other.
The problem is the people who supply that, many of them don't have.
Yeah. Our episode on Wednesday, we covered a lot about the food banks. And so I want to point people to that direction to get some more information. And we'll continue to share what we can. And what Newsom is doing for California, and hopefully what other governors around the country are also doing. To help
Pennsylvania's
their-
doing that. Yeah, Pennsylvania's starting to do that.
That's good to hear. Good to hear. Anything else on this topic? Okay. So Keisha, you are up.
Yes. Okay. So I stumbled across a video this week that you wouldn't think would give me hope, but actually gave me hope. It's about how complex systems like a country collapse. And it's basically about how the US is on the verge of collapse. But like I said, it gave me hope. So this is by a woman who says she's not an economist, but she is someone who studies complex systems. So Kim, if you could play
Yeah.
first clip.
Okay, strap in for this one, y'all. I am not an economist, but I have studied complex systems for years, and the science here is well established. What we're seeing right now is multiple critical components of our economic and political network showing simultaneous strain. Think of it like a rubber band. It stretches and holds tension, and then it snaps suddenly. That snap is what complexity scientists call a mixed transition. You can cross the threshold before the visible collapse happens, but once you've passed that point, the failure cascade becomes extremely difficult, if not impossible, to stop. With the government shutdown that went into effect October 1st, food price surges, over 30,000 jobs lost in the latest ADP report, with previous months revised downward, and all the other factors that we'll discuss, I believe we're approaching, if we haven't already crossed, that threshold. I could be wrong about timing or even whether we reach full transition, but the pattern is concerning enough that understanding what's happening really matters. Zoom out a bit and think about the US as an extremely complex system made up of other complex systems. We're talking 330 million people, trillions in daily transactions, massive supply chains, massive global markets, all interconnected. Usually that complexity makes us resilient, but under the right or the wrong conditions, it becomes our biggest vulnerability. Failure cascade is how complex systems most often collapse. All the interconnections that are efficient in average circumstances become highways for problems to spread. One disruption triggers the next, like a line of dominoes, and it amplifies as it goes. There's something more abrupt than cascading failure, and this is called the mixed transition. This is what keeps complexity scientists up at night. Here's how that works. So tiny failures accumulate invisibly throughout the system. Everything looks fine on the surface, but you hit a critical threshold and suddenly even a small shock causes the whole thing to transform. And the scary part is once it starts, you can't reverse it because the underlying structure has fundamentally changed. The warning signs are increased variance in measurements, systems taking longer to recover from shocks, events becoming more correlated, and flickering between stable and unstable states. And so I think this sounds familiar to all of us in the US right now. Since 2020, we've been accumulating what researchers call failure drift. Eroding trust, supply chain vulnerabilities, mounting debt, extreme partisanship, and repeated fiscal crises. But 2025 is qualitatively different. This administration isn't dealing with sequential challenges. They're simultaneously attacking multiple core systems at once. Direct interference with the private sector, institutional purges that destroy continuity, aggressive tariffs destabilizing the economy, cold shouldering allies, which leads to frayed, long-standing relationships, mass deportations, fracturing social cohesion, and now a government shutdown. In the financial system, bond markets are stressed. Foreign holders are nervous. The AI stock bubble has multiple burst triggers that are ready to go. Regional banks are still fragile from commercial real estate exposure. In the economy, unemployment is rising fast with major layoffs across sectors. Tariffs are driving business costs up 10 to 15% while destroying export markets. Housing foreclosures hit a 6-year high with 36,000 just in August. Healthcare premiums are about to explode, and federal revenue will collapse as the tax base shrinks. In government operations, the Treasury General account is depleting rapidly with no revenue replacement during the shutdown. They've got $156 billion in emergency funds that they can shuffle around, but that faces legal challenges and resource limits. Meanwhile, 20 of the 25 largest cities are facing deficits as they absorb the federal cost shifts from all the cuts. And as for the food system, it's getting critical. Agricultural exports are down 15% as China halted soybean purchases, and that's a $12.8 billion market that's just gone. Farm bankruptcies in the first half of 2025 have already exceeded all of 2024. Grocery prices are rising over 0.5 percentage point monthly, which is the fastest in 3 years. And then there's a predicted 7% holiday price shock that's coming. And we're already starting to see supply chain disruptions and restocking issues. The military, they're trying to politicize it with purges, loyalty tests, domestic deployment preparations. And here's what they don't seem to understand about that.
We can
This
pause it
creates
here.
institutional
Okay.
resistance.
So, without, I'm assuming none of us are experts in complex systems, but without having that knowledge, does this seem plausible to you all?
Absolutely.
I think of it as a FMEA root cause analysis kind of a thing.
Hmm.
You got
Say
to
that
break it
again?
down to see where the leaks are, and then that's how you find out where your weaknesses are, and you have to shore them up.
Do we think the U.S. is in collapse or on the verge of collapse?
Oh,
I do.
definitely.
It's on the verge. It's on
Yeah,
the
I don't
verge.
think I don't think we've gotten there yet, but
Yeah.
I think people are not starting to see it in their everyday lives, and they think we aren't. But I think we've got those silent ones just going off right now, and I think it's going to be not one of those graduals, like she said. I think it's just going to fall off all of a sudden, and that's going to be worse than the. It's gradual right now, but it's coming to a precipice quick, in my opinion.
Steve Bannon said that Trump needs one more term in order to
ugh.
complete what he's trying to do.
So we're going to
So,
talk about that
No.
later. Yeah.
yeah,
Hell
so,
no.
I
We're going to
mean,
talk about that later.
this has been going on for a while, and the only reason he wanted to, well, I think the election was rigged. I don't believe he won. It was too many people that was behind Kamala Harris. It's just hard for me to believe that she actually lost. But his goal since he's been in office is to destroy this country.
Mhm.
I think the graph she showed that was really poignant is the one where all the little things are happening and we're not seeing it really clearly. Like you said, Anitra, a lot of people aren't feeling it right now until all that blue fills up, and then people go, oh shit.
Well, the
We're in
federal
trouble.
government people,
Then it's too late.
a lot of them got half of a check on their last, got half of their check on their last pay period, and this time they didn't get anything. And so now this is their first experience at no paycheck at all. And so, and then on top of it, with the SNAP benefits stopping November 1st, you're gonna have people fighting one another for food. We're gonna act like scavengers and stuff.
I think November 1st is going to be a very big testing point.
Well,
To
that in
see-
January 1st, when you find out you have no insurance too.
Mhm.
So, do you think that the tipping point, when we think about that dominoes effect that she showed,
Yeah.
is there a tipping point? Is there something that's going to cause everything to collapse? Is it going to be the end of SNAP benefits? Is it going to be something else?
We have to have the SNAP, and and then it's going to be a combination of that and these other social programs that are getting shaved, as I'm calling it. It's going to go into the housing market, as far as Section 8 or whatever you call it in your state. On top of, it's going to be a combination of things together, and those are not going to be so silent. But the silent ones underneath the combination of those big ones is where the ground's going to not be able to handle it. It's going to come through. It's going to be like mudslides in California. It's saturated. It can't hold up anymore. It's done all it can.
A friend of mine
Dan-
told me they already told her that they were not going to renew her Section 8 housing next year, that this was the last year that she could have it.
Oh, wow.
I think to answer the question, if the government stays shut down
Yeah.
much longer, then yeah, I think those dominoes are going to start to really fall. I think to your point, Anitra, because people are start losing their homes.
Mhm.
That's another domino that's going to fall,
Mhm.
and then it's just going to continue. I yeah, we
Well, with his
can't. The
shutdown,
government. Go
I
ahead.
saw that this is this shutdown has the most furloughed workers of any shutdown, and I think it's 900,000.
Oh my God.
God.
That's what they
Yeah.
said, about eight,
And
nine
it
hundred
started
thousand.
with Elon Musk. I mean, I'm just so
Yeah.
upset with Elon Musk. You know, all these millionaires and billionaires or billionaires and trillionaires now, you know, I mean, he let them destroy our country. He just said, go ahead, do it.
So Lone Star, go ahead, Kim.
No, I was just going to piggyback on it. That's why the Republicans want the government to stay shut down.
Mhm.
So what do we give in and get it back open? We can't do that, right? Do
No.
we? So that's we'll go into that
Well, that's how much
conversation maybe a little bit later.
he hates. That's how much he hates President Obama. Is he just wants to get rid of the Affordable Care Act? He just hates that it's named after him.
Yeah.
So Lone Star and Jazzy are touching on something that the video touches on in the next clip about the military and martial law. And she talks about how much it costs to actually run the military and deploy military. And if we don't have money to pay them, it's going to be very hard to motivate them to actually do anything against us. And also, there's not enough of them to go around. They would have to militarize the entire police forces across the country in order to be able to control 331 million Americans. Can we play the next clip?
All right. I queued it up to her, so
thank you.
Face the same personal economic hardships like foreclosures and unemployment as everyone else. So that reduces loyalty to a regime that's also causing their suffering. And the purges of experienced leadership created institutional opposition. Reports from the Quantico meeting this week show officers thinking about red lines and maintaining their apolitical bearing despite political pressure. Professional militaries resist politicization because it undermines mission effectiveness. Using force against economically desperate Americans would accelerate regime collapse, not prevent it. Argentina in 2001 proved this. Military repression during economic crises deepens instability rather than resolving it. Complex military systems also require functioning supply chains, advanced technology, and professional coordination. All of this is vulnerable to economic disruption. As infrastructure fails and logistics collapse, military effectiveness degrades regardless of political loyalties. Argentina had recent authoritarian experience, but their military still couldn't maintain control when unemployment hit 23%, 40,000 businesses shuttered, and the banking system collapsed. Mass protests drew hundreds of thousands despite violent repression, and the government fell. So when might this mixed transition actually occur? It's dicey, but it could be even as short as 4 to 8 weeks. We've got a convergence right now: financial stress, food price spikes, government shutdown, and economic data blackouts. And the October food crisis hitting consumer budgets during a broader unemployment surge could be the tipping point. For the regime collapse, it could be 6 to 16 weeks at this point, with multiple factors accelerating simultaneously. Treasury depletion is the first domino, and they're burning through the general account with no revenue replacement during the shutdown. That $156 billion in emergency funds buys time, but not that much. Then there's the debt ceiling crisis looming. If we hit the ceiling during the shutdown with tanking revenue, we face potential default, and that triggers bond market panic. Foreign holders who own trillions in U.S. debt start dumping bonds, and bond yields spike. That makes our debt service costs explode right when we can't pay our bills. Currency devaluation then follows. If bond markets lose confidence in US debt, then the dollar weakens. That makes imports more expensive, which accelerates inflation, which makes the food crisis worse, which triggers more social instability. Meanwhile, mass unemployment is rising as businesses are forced to make emergency cuts in staffing or even shutter. Food shortages are hitting. International pressure mounts as allies watch us destabilize. And this is when elite defection starts to accelerate. So corporate leaders, major donors, even Republican officials, once the financial and political cost of continued support exceeds the benefit of staying loyal, they jump ship. And historically, that's when regimes collapse, not from the bottom up, but when the elites withdraw their support. Bottom line, by simultaneously destabilizing financial management, institutional continuity, economic stability, food security, and military professionalism, this administration has created cascading vulnerabilities that it cannot manage. They've essentially engineered their own downfall through reckless destabilization of the complex system that they sought to control. Be safe out there.
Wow.
She might as well have dropped the mic after she finished talking. Because
Yeah. Yeah, my God.
But she taught the military. The one thing that struck me, though, is remember that Trump is trying to find a way to pay the military during the shutdown. Remember?
Yeah, because he said he wants to stop paying Social Security now, and he wants to stop paying Medicare also. He wants to stop both. And so when you don't give your seniors some money,
I don't understand how you can get 20 billion, 40 billion, excuse me, to give to Argentina, but you can't make it so that you can get some money. He picking and choosing because he's either a dictator or he's not. But then he's not a dictator when it's going to benefit somebody, but when it's going to hurt us, then he just goes ahead and writes an executive order. He's full of crap.
I saw somewhere that the reason that they bailed out Argentina was so all the people in the administration, when it's their time to like go to trial, they can go there and hide. That's
it's got to do with that, and it's got
we
to
haven't
do with
checked that. Hang on, we haven't checked that, but that's I've heard that too.
And
but a lot of it's got to do with the hedge fund.
Yeah, there are a couple of hedge fund guys who have large investments down there, and
including Scott Bessent.
Yeah, who is standing to
the one thing that the other thing that she said that really stood out was, you know, the fact that we're running through money. He's running through money like we have this money tree, and I think we have to really remember this man is not a businessman. He was a con man. He went bankrupt 6 times.
Oh, yeah.
This is the real danger, because he's spending money that's not his, that we don't have.
And we all need to convene.
That's why the dollar's dropping.
We need to go and knock down that Wendy's he's building and throw paint on it and everything. We need to just ram the White House.
Well, didn't I see that like his family, since he got back into the presidency, made like $3 billion or something, something radical. But something Jazzy said really kind of stuck out to me when she was talking about there's so many high up military personnel that see what's going on that hopefully they have some kind of backup plan in secret, because you have to remember they know how to keep a secret. They're not Pete Hegseth going on signal.
That's what I believe, that the military, they got a plan and they can't.
Yeah, they won't let it slip.
Yeah. And they also know, Katie, how to communicate in secret. You know, they're not going to do what Hegseth did. They know how to be undercover, and they will do it right. I mean, so as Keisha said, when she started, she felt hopeful after, towards the end of that video. Well, maybe there is some hope.
Yeah, that's my thing. Is she's talking about 4 to 16 weeks. Look, I don't know this woman. I stumbled across her video. She sounds like she knows what she's talking about. All the things made sense. I tried to look her up and find out more information about her. I couldn't find anything. But using my thinking rational brain, it seems like everything she said is plausible. And while I don't want to see people harmed, where we are and where we're going to, this cannot stand. Like, this is just untenable. And something
Pain's a
has
motivator.
There
I
will be a
envision
tipping
them
point.
walking in and with the handcuffs and chaining them somewhere. I keep having that dream. They just gonna walk in and say, "This man is nuts."
And I agree, and I keep dreaming that same dream, Andrea.
We
I
hope
think when you look
Like
at
go
kind of
hungry.
philosophy and the idea of the tipping point and the idea that chaos always precedes any kind of transformation.
Mhm.
And to me, that's the hope, right? That's the hope, that we have to go through all this to be able to come out on the other side with something great, something better, something that serves everybody, something that, you know, we can all be proud of again, living in this country, or be proud of for the first time living in this
That's
country.
right.
Well, you know, my
Right?
hope, yeah, is I hope we have strong Democrats or leaders, but who knows? We don't know, are
Yeah.
working on this. Even though if we don't know, I hope they're working behind the scenes right now to strategize and come up with some way to get this man out of there.
Well, see, they kept making those kind of comments yesterday when we had the legends on, and I felt like if we came through slavery and created a country, and that was profitable, there's no way that we have very smart, intelligent people in this world, and I think we're gonna come back better than we did before. You know, look at all of this panel. Even this panel is very brilliant. So I don't believe I'm just going to sit back and not tell you the information I have, because I know how to build things.
And so that kind of goes back to my question from, I don't know, 10 episodes ago, where I asked everyone what kind of nation we want to see, because we are going to have to rebuild, and we have to know what our values are, what we want, so that we rebuild the right way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We don't want a dictator.
No, we don't
Well,
want hate. It would be lovely to see hate just go away.
And until we all recognize that we're all important, red, yellow, black, or white, it has nothing to do with the texture of my hair or the color of my skin. Until we realize that all of us are important, I think it's going to keep going wrong.
absolutely.
So while we're thinking on how to rebuild, we need to know how to deal with racism. We need to know how to deal with this administration, because their followers will still be here. So we have to put that into the plan as well.
And that's what they're using to make this work. They're using the racism to make us fight. But, you know, I like everybody. The only people I don't like is people that mistreat me. And I tend to treat people like they treat me.
Yeah,
I
the
think we have to.
disrespect is real.
I'm sorry, August. We have to find a way to cut through all of this fear mongering, and kind of and do our best to try to educate those, you know, just like regarding the racism and this giant separation that we all seem to have.
Well, and
I
the
had a real
other
good
big
opportunity to do
monster,
that
the
this
other
week.
the other big issue is the greed. The greed. We have to do something about the greed.
It's bad.
Because if we don't, that
Get
is
the money out of our politics.
Yeah.
And just in
The greed-
corporate greed, you know, why does a CEO have to make so much money compared to what they're paying their employees?
Doing the work when it's the you know, us people doing the day-to-day operation, and we could tell you how to run it.
There was a meme I wish I could find just real quick of Bezos when he went up in his rocket, and then underneath were back-to-back people just on top of each other. And it's like he's doing this on the backs of all the people, right, that work for Amazon. And I just thought it was such a pointed visual and so active.
Well,
I'm sorry,
oh,
Maureen.
wait.
Go ahead. Maureen?
I know. Oh,
I'm just agreeing with you. Yeah. And I'm covering what the people in Silicon Valley are doing under the table to say, okay, we'll pick this city and say, okay, we're not going to bring ICE in. But those cities over there, nah, we don't care. We're going to do where it is to our advantage. And that really bothered me, finding that information.
Well, and the greed doesn't just have to do with money. It has to do with like so many people thinking that because certain groups get rights like same-sex marriage or like even those who immigrated here and went through the system legally, like for some reason if they get rights, that means that we get it taken away, and that's not the case. We want everybody to be equal.
And
that
they're
greed
putting more money in than we're putting in. You know, they paying more money in taxes into the system than they're getting out, you know. And I don't understand this, why the rich don't pay taxes and we pay, and they'll come and take my house if I don't pay taxes.
so that brings me to the topic of community, and I know we just move on, but I did just want to close out with we do need to prepare for this. And we talked on Wednesday about food banks and how we can help people find resources that they need when they have food insecurity. So of course, donating to food banks and donating to soup kitchens is important. If you can help buy groceries for someone that you know directly, that's also important. What are some other ways that we can help prepare for this collapse?
Go visit the sick and shut in, see if
Yeah.
they're okay, the ones that can't move and get around for themselves.
Check in on your neighbors, you know, just go, if you know, like in my neighborhood, I do have a lot of elderly people. And if I don't see them, I'm going to go knock on their door and make sure that they are okay. But, you know, just checking in helps, I think. In addition to donating
money
to food banks.
In addition to the plate of food.
Yeah.
The other thing I think we need to have on our radar, because a lot of us or a lot of people are talking about, 2026, 2028, but this November, there are going to be thousands of elections going on, right? And thousands of people coming up for some type of office. And those are the people, if we can, to look up, to reach out to donate to see how we can affect that at a different level, because all of those different positions in more local state races are going to affect what happens in the future.
I got to hear something people speak about that down here in Virginia during No Kings rally, because they're having their election down here and they're really going at it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of elections
voting right
happening
now. I don't know if nobody remembers. We're voting right now, and in Texas and in other states. I mean, one of the things in Texas they want to do is to help pay for the people to keep all the immigrants out, and I voted against.
Yep. Keep an eye on the elections. Do what we can there now. Yeah.
A new poll came out today, said that more people in the poll. It's usually like when we had that like a blue kind of a roll back in 18. They looked at those same like I always said, Quinnipiac. Y'all know what I'm talking about. That poll. I'm messing it up. I have to look at it in order to say it right. But that poll showed that there's like 7% of the people versus the 5%. It's usually even. They said it was only up 0.5%, but more people are saying they're more democratic in their thinking right now. So that's a good sign that people are waking up.
Hope so.
Yeah.
We just wanted to wake up before it's too late. Before it's too late.
Right.
I heard on Tuesday that for Prop 50 that they have received over 2.4 million ballots.
I heard it's going to be a blowout. We'll see.
Thanks to California.
So. Yeah, I hope so.
I will say they make it easy for us to vote here. That's one good system.
Yes.
I just saw two in Virginia. the Democrats are trying to redraw their maps, and if it passes, they'll lose 3 Republican seats in Virginia.
So
Good.
team time now is 8:29. We are at the bottom of the hour. Please like and subscribe. We do have a couple more others to go.
We do. So I will shelf mine till next week. And because we can talk about the things I had, we can talk about
And I
next
can
week.
do mine next week also.
It'll still be here. So
Yep.
let's, Andrea, let's go to yours, and then
Oh.
we'll move to August on the Move.
Okay, because mine was, kind of all in the same thing that we've been talking about. The one thing I saw in the news yesterday that Alaska Airlines has grounded all of their flights nationwide due to technical outages. They didn't talk about the air traffic controllers, but I still in some way believe this has to do with the air traffic controllers. The airline said in a statement provided to CBS that it was experiencing an IT outage affecting operations and had issued a temporary ground stop. It did not elaborate on the nature of the outage or how long it might last. The exact number of impacted flights was also unclear. The ground stops are issued by the Federal Aviation Administration, often at the request of the airlines. Alaska Airlines also operates Hawaiian Airlines and Horizon Air. CBS reached out for clarification as to the ground stops and what was really affecting it, and they primarily told them that they don't know, but they service the West Coast mainly, but they have 140 routes. I thought, if you're traveling, that you might want to know that this is affecting every part of life. Every part of life is affecting.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I had one more thing I wanted to say, and it's about where is the beef? And it was funny to me, where is the beef? But it's not funny to me. That's why we're showing the cattle. In a misguided effort to lower the prices of beef in grocery stores, President Trump said he plans to increase the volume of beef being imported from Argentina. Efforts to manipulate markets only risk damaging the livelihoods of American cattlemen and women while doing little to impact the price consumers are paying at the grocery store. The National Cattlemen's Beef Association and its members cannot stand behind the president where he undercuts the future of family farmers and ranchers by importing Argentina's beef in an attempt to influence prices. It is imperative that President Trump and the Secretary of Agriculture, Brooks Rollins, let the cattle markets work. The United States has already faced a deep trade embellished with Argentina, one that is made worse by the president's plan. During the past 5 years, Argentina has shipped beef valued more than 800 million to the United States, while purchasing only 7 million of U.S. beef. Furthermore, Argentina is a nation with a long history of foot and mouth disease, and USDA has not completed the necessary steps to ensure Argentina can guarantee the safety of the products being shipped here, further endangering Americans' cattle herd. If President Trump is truly an ally of Americans' cattle producers, we call on him to abandon the effort to manipulate the markets and focus instead on the promised New World screwworm facilities in Texas. There's a facility in Texas making additional investments that would protect the domestic cattle herd from foreign animal diseases such as the foot to mouth disease, and addressing regulatory burdens such as delisting of the gray wolf and addressing the scrounge of black vultures, said Woodall. So Argentina beef has been known for having foot to mouth disease.
So I guess we will stand down from having beef after Thanksgiving. Going into December, you might want to
Anytime you
rethink
see
it,
made in
folks.
Argentina,
You got to wonder what's going on in Argentina. What?
It's a good time to become a vegetarian.
Yeah. No
every
kidding.
day I eat less and less meat.
Yeah, I don't eat very much meat.
Oh, there's some shady shit going on in Argentina. We got to know that.
Yeah.
So mine were FYIs to be careful.
By the way, those cows were cute, Keisha.
It was cute, and I like the alt text. It said "matured cow" with a curious, surprised look on its face.
I thought they was kind of skinny.
I'm with you, Jazzy. I'm not eating it either.
And
they are like that too. You know, when we would go out into the pasture to bring them in to milk them, they would just come and look at you. Come on, let's go, girls, and follow us along. You know, whether we're on a horse or I was driving, my uncle's tractor or whatever.
You had a dairy farm then in your family.
Yeah, my grandmother had a 79-acre dairy farm, and then another. We're a big Italian family, so they all had dairies, and yeah,
that's cool.
It was fun. It was a great life to grow up in.
Yeah, I went summers at a dairy farm actually up in Lake County. Yeah.
Yep.
Great information, Andrea. Thank you.
Thank you,
for
Andrea.
finding
Yes.
that. Now we got to watch our beef. Because Lord knows I don't trust the FDA.
Somebody was telling me about
No
shrimp.
inspectors.
We keep getting shrimp from another country, and when you cook it, it already tastes salty. And so be careful with shrimp that's on sale and not made, golfed in America.
I don't know. Anybody else on this topic? All right. It's that time for Miss August on the move.
I don't eat it.
You don't eat it. Okay. It is August on the move. It is Friday, the 24th of 2025 of our good Lord. It is 8:36, and usually I give you the whole rundown for what's happening. The only thing two things I want to focus on today is the tropical storm Melissa. The Caribbean is batting down their hatches. Winds are starting to pick up. It's tracking south of Jamaica coming in. So Haiti, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico will only receive the winds, but Jamaica can, and also Cuba will receive a lot of water. So guys, if you do have Caribbean friends, family, check on them, please. Let them know. And I just want to make sure if you are out there, remember to do a couple of things. Put your food in plastic. Make sure you have enough water. So make sure you have at least 2 to 3 gallons per person in your home. So usually you have the big basin, and so cover it with wood so it doesn't fly off. Put water in there for the family because it is going to be a lot of flooding. We want to make sure you put your perishables inside of ice, and also put them in tubs. Things in plastic. Clothes that you're going to need to put on after the fact. Put them in plastic containers. Do that now. It's supposed to hit by Sunday, but this is a slow moving tropical storm. So we just want you to be mindful. It's going to hang out for a while. So Godspeed. We're thinking about you. Just take heed and be cautioned. All right. The other thing I really wanted to, it's been a rough week, and I just know that it's been overwhelming. My heart was breaking from watching the White House be demolished. That's our house. And how dare you? And then your cost was 2 something. Now it's 3. Like, dude, you really need to take a pill. Very much so. So all I want to say to everybody, let's laugh. Let's quickly hear from God.
You know what I'm talking about. If you travel, you know what I'm talking about. You ever ask for the whole can? I don't know where they get these airline cups from. They don't sell them anywhere, not even as Jean Couture or whatever. These little half cups. And they put big pieces of ice, big! And they pour a little bit of orange juice, just a tiny bit. There you go. You gotta suck the juice off the ice. Just melt some more. Then you're like, excuse me, can I have the whole can? You ever get the middle seat, right? Middle seat. Oh, middle seat. You're always apologetic when you have middle seat, right? You always do the face. You ever do the middle seat face? You're like, hey, I'm in the middle. I'm gonna start being confident with middle seat. I'm gonna be like, all right. I can't wait to sit between you lovely people. You got really nice breasts. Can't wait to fall asleep on those. I'm getting those toilets put in my house. Cause listen, I live in Manhattan. I got those toilets that waste water. When I do what I do, I don't need to see what I did. I got one of those toilets that go, look what you did. Holy crap. Bring it up one more time. Show them. I got a James Brown toilet. 2 times. You're nasty. Bring it up one more time. I'm getting the airplane toilet. You come out 10 pounds light. I don't listen to safety procedures either. I don't listen to it. It's bogus. I think, listen, first of all, I think that vest doesn't work. It's bogus. First of all, technology should be better. You know, where we press a button and that's it. We're ready to go. Ready to go. No, put it on. You gotta click. All right, I don't know what this is. I feel like I'm milking myself. And this is what bugs me. Are you serious? I gotta scream and blow at the same time. I don't have enough air.
With that said, folks, thank you. I hope that made you smile because it did for me. And we just want you to go into the weekend with joy. Back over to you, Kim.
That is funny. You got to scream and blow at the same time.
He is funny.
All right. Well, I'm going to leave that there. I had a couple more images, but I'm going to leave it right there. But I am going to bring this back up and ask the question again. Let's hope not. Not yet. We don't want to become numb. We can't afford to become numb. And we have to help those around us not become numb as well. So we have to hang in there. Let's have some hope that the systems experts have some wisdom behind what they're telling us. So we'll talk more about it next week because I think it's a good topic. Anybody else? Do a little round table. One more thing before we go. Anybody?
One person can make a difference.
Stay woke.
Keep the hope going.
Stronger together stronger.
100%. Thank you to everyone who joined us today. Jazzy, we love you. You're always here supporting us, and we so appreciate you. And everybody else, please like, subscribe, come back, join us, and let's keep the faith, keep hope alive. All right, guys, have a great weekend, by the way. If you're going to Halloween parties this weekend, be careful and stay safe.
We the people unite.